It was certainly a newsworthy week, or a newsworthy weekend, so to speak, as far as the WWE Hell in a Cell show went. There were two major stories that broke. Number one being Cody Rhodes and the torn pectoral muscle. Now, WWE made it seem like Cody Rhodes, he partially tore the pectoral muscle in that brawl with Seth Rollins on Monday Night Raw on Memorial Day. And then he was lifting weights. And that caused him to tear it completely off the bone. Now, I don't know how true that is, and I'm going to go on record and say that's not true at all. I'm going to go on record and say that he didn't partially tear it in that brawl with Seth Rollins. He actually tore the whole thing in one shot off the bone, lifting weights on Saturday afternoon. And they said that he partially tore it in the feud with Seth Rollins and the brawl with Seth Rollins to play up to the story, just to enhance the story and enhance the match. Everyone was wondering what the condition was with Cody Rhodes, and we had no idea how bad it was until we actually got to the match in the main event, and Cody took off his jacket, and we saw exactly how bad it was. Now, as far as the other big news story goes, Bray Wyatt has been in the news recently. He's been in the news all week. He's been teasing the IWC. He's been teasing the internet wrestling community, teasing Twitter in general, and he was claiming that he's getting tired of waiting and he's going to be back soon. I'm ready. Patience is almost time. And when Cody went down with injury, Bray Wyatt all of a sudden then rose to prominence in the news, and we all thought that Bray Wyatt could have very well make his return at Hell in a Cell. Now, that did not happen. We don't know what's going on with Bray Wyatt. We don't know whether or not Bray Wyatt is signed back to the WWE. We don't know whether WWE is planning on bringing in Bray Wyatt when this is all said and done. We don't know if Bray Wyatt's going to be in the plans or in the company as a signed employee once again going into SummerSlam. We don't know what's going on with Bray Wyatt. I don't know what's going on with Bray Wyatt myself, and to be quite honest with you, I could potentially see him back in WWE only because of the fact that now, with Cody going down with an injury, Roman is on vacation, I see absolutely nobody that's going to carry the load as the face of the company in their absence. And that's a problem that WWE has to endure. It's their own doing. We didn't see Bray Wyatt at all, but the Bray Wyatt rumors were swirling round and round and round, but they were not as big as what was going on with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes tore his pectoral muscle completely off the bone. When he took his jacket off, I don't think I've ever seen anything more gruesome than that. The only other thing that I've seen that is as gruesome as that is when Psycho Sid did a big boot off of the middle rope back during WCW. He broke his leg, and his left leg was just hanging off. That was the most gruesome thing that I've ever seen in a professional wrestling ring up until what we saw here. Now, there are positives and there are negatives that went into that main event last night. And we're going to talk about it. Let's talk about the positives first. The positives. Cody Rhodes, I don't know how the fuck he did it. I'm not even going to contemplate how he did it. I'm thoroughly convinced that Cody Rhodes is not human after what we saw last night. I'm thoroughly convinced that he's the Terminator walking among us. I don't know how the fuck Cody Rhodes did it. I'm not sure if they shot him up with numbing medication. I'm not sure if they put him on painkillers. But Cody Rhodes, after the performance that he gave last night, he has solidified himself as the top dog in the company after that performance. Cody Rhodes gave us the best performance of his entire life, given the circumstances. And I have absolutely nothing but respect for Cody Rhodes after what he did. He not only has passion, because it takes a hell of a lot of passion to put yourself last, to put yourself in the rearview mirror, and to put everyone else's needs and desires first. This just goes to show you how important this match meant to him, how much this feud meant to him, and how much passion he really has for this. And you don't find that in many people. A passion that burns like that is a rare thing in today's age. And I'm not just talking about when it comes to pro wrestling. I'm talking about when it comes to anything. That type of passion is very, very rare. WWE should be counting their blessings that they have someone like Cody Rhodes. I don't know if there was anyone else that would have been willing to do what Cody Rhodes did. Now, he's an absolute moron for doing so. It was an absolutely idiotic decision. But in the end, holy shit, Cody Rhodes, he not only has passion, he not only has grit, he's got balls. And I mean balls. Putting himself at risk of potentially injuring his torn pectoral muscle even further and potentially ending his career, or to a point where he may never wrestle the same again, that right there deserves a shit ton of respect. That right there deserves a shit ton of respect. On top of that, WWE has themselves a picture-perfect plan. Cody Rhodes is going to be out for the rest of the year. I do not see Cody Rhodes returning at any point in time throughout the rest of the year. No chance. Unless he does pull a John Cena. I don't know. Cody Rhodes is going to be out for the rest of the year. What do you do with Money in the Bank? I don't know. Cody Rhodes, for all we know, for all intensive purposes, was set to win the men's Money in the Bank ladder match and potentially take the title off of Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. That is not going to happen. That's not going to happen at all. What are we looking at now? WWE is a picture-perfect story right here. What I'm looking at is Seth Rollins in the Royal Rumble in 2023. He's running through everyone, and he's the last person in the ring before number 30 comes out. And Rollins is waiting for number 30, and here we hear the wrestling has more than one royal family. Cody Rhodes rises up, and Cody Rhodes comes back, returns at the Royal Rumble at number 30. He has a face-off with Seth Rollins, properly ends that program, eliminates Rollins, and Cody Rhodes wins the 2023 Royal Rumble, and then goes on to WrestleMania 39 to win the World Championship. That's what I'm looking at. If that is not in the plans for Cody Rhodes to come back, win the Royal Rumble, and become the new WWE Undisputed Universal Champion, everyone in this company that is running management should be absolutely fired. That needs to be your plan. Cody Rhodes gave everyone the performance of a fucking lifetime, and with a torn tricep, with a torn pectoral muscle, so to speak, torn pectoral muscle, he gave us a match as if he didn't even tear it. He gave us a match as if he didn't even tear his pectoral muscle completely off the bone. His entire right pectoral muscle going down his right bicep was dark purple mixed in with red, mixed in with brown. It was 4 or 5 different colors all rolled up into one. It was just a fucking blob. It was just a dark purple, brown, red, black blob. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is hard to look at. As the match went on, the Chicago crowd started getting behind Cody, and Cody Rhodes walked into Hell in a Cell and walked out an absolute fucking superstar. This is going to catapult Cody Rhodes up the ladder even further. He solidified himself as the guy in the company, and he's about to go away. I don't know how he did it, but Cody Rhodes, whatever they were paying Cody Rhodes originally, they should increase it by 5 times the original amount. They better be paying for this man's medical bills. They better be paying this man an extra $500,000 to $1 million just for this one performance alone. He better have a very solid pay increase after that performance that he just gave under the condition that he was in. No fucking joke. Cody Rhodes is an absolute fucking legend. And I have nothing but respect for Cody. Those are the positives. The negatives. There's a shit ton of negatives here. But they all stem from one thing and one thing only. Same thing that I've been saying for God knows how many months. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be saying the same thing as me. And I just hope to God, that there's going to be more people than the norm, more people than myself and the usual suspects that are going to say exactly what I'm about to say. This is what happens when you fail to build new stars. This is what happens when you fire 200 people during a pandemic, nonetheless. This is what happens when you put all your effort into building up Charlotte Flair as the greatest of all time in the women's division. This is what happens when you put all your effort into Becky Lynch. This is what happens when you put all your effort into Brock Lesnar, when you cater to Bill Goldberg, when you cater to Ronda Rousey. This is what happens when you put all your effort into Roman Reigns and the Bloodline and you neglect everyone else. This is what happens. WWE did this to themselves. There is no way, no chance in hell that Cody Rhodes was cleared by any of those doctors. WWE wants to tout that they have the best medical staff in the world. No one cleared Cody Rhodes to go out there. Cody Rhodes went out there on his own accord because, yes, he's a grown man, but at the end of the day, he had to. He had to. There was nobody else. There was nobody to replace him. And that is WWE's fault. WWE has been operating with the same mentality for at least a decade plus now. All they fucking do is push the same fucking people over and over and over again, and they put all their effort into 4 to 5 people, and they neglect everyone else to a point where everyone else just feels like an ordinary schmuck. Kevin Owens feels like an ordinary mid-card schmuck. Finn Balor, Sami Zayn are glorified enhancement talents. AJ Styles, he has lost all of his momentum from teaming with Omos. Bobby Lashley has lost all of his momentum in this feud with Omos. And he won the fucking feud. How many people? Liv Morgan, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, Shinsuke Nakamura, Ricochet, Gunther, everybody. Everybody feels like an ordinary fucking schmuck. No development, no effort, nothing. And when you build up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people only, and you neglect the rest of your roster, this is what you get. This is what you get. WWE should be disgusted in themselves. They honestly should be disgusted in themselves. And I am surprised that not enough people are talking about this. It really does make CM Punk look like an absolute fucking genius after he called out WWE for giving him nothing but Z-Pack after Z-Pack after Z-Pack after Z-Pack. Meanwhile, he had a staph infection in his back. He had a huge purple lump right in the middle of his back, and he was sent out to wrestle with it. Kind of makes CM Punk look like a fucking stud now, huh? And yet you wonder why CM Punk is petty towards WWE. Because they fucked him over in more ways than one. Not just creatively, they fucked over his health. Really makes CM Punk look like a stud there. That's number one. Number two, it shows everyone that WWE needs to change their fucking ways. They need to change their fucking ways. They have legitimately no one else. They may have to call up Roman Reigns again. Meanwhile, Roman Reigns is on a beach somewhere in the fucking Bahamas with his wife and his kids. They probably brought their aunt or their uncle around, and the aunt or the uncle is going to take the kids out to a fucking water park or an amusement park while Roman stays behind and fucks his wife in the hotel room. They're probably going to have to call up Roman. Hey, Joe, can you come on back? Cody just went down with a torn pectoral muscle. We need you. They may have no choice but to bring in Bray Wyatt. I don't even know if Bray Wyatt's even going to come back. Bray Wyatt right now is the biggest question mark of them all. WWE should see the error of their ways with this one scenario and the fact that they had no choice but to put a less than 100%, a 50%, maybe even less than 50% Cody Rhodes in that ring, potentially injuring him further and potentially ending his career. They had to put him out there because there was no other choice. Will they see the error of their ways? Of course not. And you know why? Because WWE is essentially operating in a scenario right now in which their shows are essentially like high school gym class. How do you pass gym class? All you have to do is show up. They got all of these deals with NBC Universal, Fox, and Saudi Arabia. All they need to do is show up on Monday, and they will get paid an easy $1 million by NBC Universal. All they need to do is show up on Friday, and they will get paid an easy $1 billion by Fox. All they need to do is show up in Saudi Arabia twice a year, and they get paid an easy $1 trillion by the Prince of Saudi Arabia. That's all they need to do. It's just like gym class. Doesn't matter if you're the star athlete in your class or you're a fucking wimp that can't even pick up a wiffle ball bat. They will pass you if you show up. Well, what more can I say? What more can I say? It's an absolute fucking joke. How many people on that roster should honestly be higher up on the card than they really are? This is what happens when you shaft an Aleister Black, when you fire an Andrade, when you allow a Adam Cole, a CM Punk, a Bryan Danielson to slip through your fingers. This is what happens when you book the women's division so poorly that Sasha Banks and Naomi walk out. This is what happens when you fire Karrion Kross, you fire Keith Lee, you fire Buddy Matthews. That's what happens. It's absolutely fire Bronson Reed. Fire Mercedes Martinez, fire Ruby Soho, let Tony Storm walk. That's what happens. WWE has absolutely nobody to fall back on. They have nobody to fall back on. And it's quite fucking pathetic. It's quite fucking pathetic. WWE did it to themselves. And at the end of the day, nobody should feel sorry for WWE. Nobody should. Is WWE going to change? Of course not. I would not bet on it at all. Why? Because they're already inked all these deals where they can do whatever the fuck they want. It doesn't matter if their shows are great or if their shows are bottom of the barrel trash. All they need to do is show up for 3 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Tuesday, 2 hours on Friday, and occasional Sundays and Saturdays, and they will get paid money no matter what. They're making Peacock money, Fox money, NBC Universal money, Saudi money, all this shit. They don't care. They don't care. This is what happens when you put your needs first and everyone else's needs second. This is what happens when you fail to build new stars. WWE should be disgusted with the tactics that they pulled here. Cody Rhodes is an absolute beast. I have nothing but respect for Cody Rhodes, and I do hope Cody Rhodes gets that surgery quickly as possible. He's scheduled for surgery this week, and I hope to God that he comes back bigger and better than ever. I really do hope so. But this just further exposed WWE. It seems like every single show, WWE does something to further expose their tactics as being shit tactics, as being just a mentality that is so outdated, a mentality that needs to be changed. With every single passing show, they further expose themselves. And it's quite pathetic. It's quite pathetic. WWE, they just continue to shoot themselves in the foot. Now, if they had someone they could have fell back on, if they actually built up someone like a Kevin Owens or an AJ Styles, a Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, Ricochet, maybe, just maybe, if they didn't fire Keith Lee, they didn't fire Karrion Kross, if they didn't fire Bronson Reed, if they didn't let Adam Cole go, maybe, just maybe, if they didn't make Pete Dunne into a fucking British version of Madcap Moss, maybe, just maybe, we would have had a suitable replacement for Seth Rollins. And Cody did not have to go out there and potentially further injure himself and end his career. Potentially. The show itself was not a terrible show per se. It wasn't a great show at all, but given the circumstances, it was much more bearable than we expected. We did get a great main event. Props to Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, too. Seth Rollins deserves all the credit in the world, too, for working with Cody Rhodes in that circumstance. And Rollins was probably the best individual for Cody Rhodes to work with, considering they are very familiar with each other. They've been putting on great matches, and Rollins knows how to work, and he did whatever he could to make the match as safe as possible. But then again, it's a fucking Hell in a Cell match. It's not like you're going to make it safe at all. But Seth Rollins, he deserves all the credit in the world, too. So we got a great main event. We got an excellent opening match with the women, Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Becky Lynch. We had a very fun 6-person tag team match with the Judgment Day, Styles, Balor, and Morgan. And then everything else was kind of just there. Decent stuff here and there, but ultimately this was a very skippable show. Pretty much a 3-match show if you really want to go back and watch it, but it wasn't a completely horrible show. I'd actually put this above the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania Night 2. But very, very middle of the road show. Really nothing for anyone to jump out of their seat about, but it wasn't as bad as we expected. We're going to go over everything, and I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. I'd like to thank Dee, DJ Sums, Peanuts. I'd like to thank The Shooter and Mitch Kofsky. You guys are fantastic, and this is the official rewind for WWE Hell in a Cell 2022, which of course streamed live on Peacock last night from the Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is officially the end of the Summer of Storms kickoff tour. So I would like to thank each and every single one of you who were along for the ride with me throughout this entire kickoff tour. We just hit 10 likes. We just hit 10 likes on the stream today. So I greatly appreciate that right there. If you can, I want to see if we can get to at least 20. Let's end the Summer of Storms kickoff tour with a bang. What do you say? Let's end it with a bang. So, first things first. Once again, there will be no LFU this Saturday, no Lightning Flash update on Saturday because I will be celebrating 2 milestones, my sister's graduation from grammar school and my uncle's birthday. You guys can survive without me for one Saturday. I will be back next Saturday, June 18th, and I will be back in time for Forbidden Door as well. So please do not, and I repeat, do not fret. You can survive. You had me for 2 straight weeks, almost every day. So there's going to be no LFU on Saturday. Secondly, if you guys missed the rewind for WWE NXT In Your House 2022. That streamed live yesterday afternoon. We went live before Hell in a Cell to talk about NXT In Your House. Only went about an hour and 15 minutes. I wanted to get done as quickly as possible because I just didn't give a fuck about the show. The show was a complete waste of time in the end. And to be quite honest with you, Hell in a Cell was actually better than NXT In Your House. Now, that's not saying much because the NXT brand sucks, but for what it's worth, Hell in a Cell was better than NXT In Your House, just based off of the opening match and the main event. Please make sure you follow me on social media. Follow me on Twitter and follow me on Instagram. Same at HistoryMakerDJS. That is at HistoryMakerDJS on both Twitter and Instagram. You want to go check that out? Please go check out those 2 social medias. You can add me on Facebook as well. For collaborations and business inquiries, please send me an email. My email is, of course, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. Please make sure you like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms posse group on Facebook. That is, all of those links are in the description of this very stream. If you haven't already liked the video, I don't know what you're doing. When you come on in and you hit that like button. We got 10 likes so far. I want to see if we can at least get to 20. But in order for... Actually, no, we got 11 likes, actually. My apologies. We got 11 likes. So far, we got 11 likes. If you're coming on in, please make sure you hit that like button. It is very vital to do so. And then... No. This is not pre-recorded, Dee. This is actually live right now. The reason why I am not talking to the chat right now is because I have a lot to get into. This is a lot of material, but this is not pre-recorded. This is live. I've been going live every single day for the last 2 weeks, so don't tell me that this is pre-recorded, okay? But if you haven't already done so, hit that like button. We are at 11 likes so far, and please make sure that you share out the stream on all platforms of social media. I'm talking about Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever social media platforms that you may use. Whatever social media platforms that you may use, share it out. It is absolutely vital that you do so. And, of course, when you do so, you tell everyone that DJ Storms is live on YouTube. We're talking about Hell in a Cell, and we're looking to end the Summer of Storms kickoff tour with a bang. Look at this. Bam Cristiano, my guy over at ISPW Wrestling. He decided to invade the stream. I greatly appreciate you, Bam. We're talking about Hell in a Cell. I greatly appreciate the support that you're showing me. You keep up the great work, too. Put in a little word to old Tommy, the promoter over there. See if he can slide me in the show. I think I could make that place a little bit more interesting, if you know what I mean. Okay? Okay? Anyway. Toot my own horn a little bit too much. Please make sure when you come on in, you hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, and, of course, hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, baby, it is the best time to be on YouTube because it is the only time you're going to get to see this glorious sideburn shin strap combination and this beautiful mustache right here. Hold on one sec. Earl Cole, he's actually live right now. So shout out to Earl Cole. Let me go and like his stream, actually. There you go. I liked Earl Cole's stream just for the hell of it. Just because I'm a good guy. Just because I'm a nice guy. But regardless of that, we're going to light it up. Light it up right here with a little and a dash of and a whole lot of Because like Campbell's soup, I'm just so good. Everybody wants a piece of the Storms Meister. Let's be real right here. Anyway, we're going to get into the Hell in a Cell rewind. Let's talk about what was a semi-decent show. Really nothing to go back and rewatch, but it was much more bearable than what we are usually accustomed to from WWE. Show kicked off with the absolute best match possible. I would actually go so far as to say that this was actually better than the main event. We had Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Becky Lynch. This was a triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship. And this was easily the best match of the night. And I would even go so far as to say that this was perhaps the best women's match in WWE all year. Best women's match in WWE all year. Becky, I don't know what the fuck she is trying to be. I've said so many negative things about her, rightfully so. I've called her Bimbo Lynch. I've called her Becky Flair. I've called her a self-entitled manipulative cunt, and rightfully so. She came out looking like, I don't know what the fuck she was trying to be. She had a fucking Transformers headpiece on, trying to look like she had a fucking piece of Megatron on her head, and then we had a black wedding dress bottom piece. I don't know what the fuck she was trying to be. She looked awful. She looked like a Lady Gaga ripoff to a T. To a fucking T. Now, as far as her in-ring work, she is doing phenomenal as far as in-ring work goes. She's doing phenomenal as far as in-ring work goes, and I cannot be any more pleased with the in-ring work than that she's doing right now, especially since she's in the ring with Asuka and Bianca. There was no way that this match was going to be bad. This match had to be good because of the talent that was in the match. There was no way it was going to be bad just based off of who's in the match. There's no way that we're going to get a bad match when Asuka's in there, Becky's in there, and Bianca's in there. So Becky came out looking ridiculous. The crowd was actually hot for this match. They were pretty hot all night. There were some low points in the show, but they were pretty decent throughout the entire night. So Becky was caught by Bianca. She was sent off the top rope to the floor. We had a clothesline bulldog combination by Asuka. Some stiff kicks, a rolling armbar by Asuka. Becky came in and she took over. She looked to wear down Bianca. Becky then with a guillotine leg drop while Bianca was hung over the rope. That got a 2 count. Becky with a Beck-sploder. Asuka came in with a sliding knee to break up that pinfall. Forearm strike off the apron by Becky, and then a diving leg drop on Bianca for a 2. Asuka then with some stiff kicks and punches. It was like one punch, one spinning back fist, one kick, one spinning back fist after the other, and then a very nice German suplex and a hip attack by Asuka. Great sequence. Bianca then mounted a comeback, 10 punches in the corner. This was another great sequence right here. Bianca, 10 punches in the corner, spine buster to Becky. She glam slammed Asuka onto Becky and then hit a double springboard handspring moonsault onto Asuka and Becky Lynch, and they both kicked out. Very nice sequence right there. Asuka came in with 2 code breakers, one for Bianca and then one for Becky. We had a double hip attack on both women, and they both kicked out. Asuka is awesome, by the way. She had a double ankle lock on Bianca and Becky Lynch. Awesome maneuver. Awesome spot right here. It looked great. Asuka was then sent to the floor. We had a disarmor by Becky. Bianca powered out of it like only she can, but her ankle gave way. Bianca then with a roll through. Becky then pushed Bianca into a drop kick, a missile drop kick by Asuka. We had a manhandle slam by Becky, but Asuka barely saved the match. Asuka then accidentally took out Bianca. Asuka then saved Becky from getting pinned. Asuka was then caught up in the ropes. We had some back and forth roll-ups. Asuka then locked in the Asuka lock on Becky. Becky then tried to fight out. Bianca came in. She had a glam slam to Asuka on the buckle. A manhandle slam by Becky on Asuka. Bianca then sent Becky to the floor, and she pinned Asuka to win the match. 1, 2, 3. This was an excellent match. This was an excellent triple threat match from start to finish. Best match of the night. Absolutely the correct match to kick off the show. The match order that they had on Hell in a Cell, I will say, was perfect. So that's one positive that the show had. But this was an excellent triple threat match. Excellent match from start to finish. I cannot praise these women any more than I already have in terms of an in-ring perspective. Awesome stuff. Now, the ending was exactly what we expected. And Bianca pinned Asuka. Just like last year with Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, Asuka was merely there to take the pinfall and to help enhance the Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair feud. And that's not right. That's not right at all. WWE, they don't value Asuka. Plain and simple, they don't value Asuka. I would not be shocked if Asuka is released, but they can't afford to release Asuka right now just because of how shitty the women's division is as we speak. And on top of that, there really isn't anything else for Asuka to do. The only thing that Asuka could honestly do right now is go to NXT UK and fight Meiko Satomura for the NXT UK Women's Championship. But that will never happen because then Asuka will go to NXT UK and NXT UK will have a better Women's Championship title program than the main roster. And we can't have that now, can we? I'm going to tell you this right now. If AEW wasn't a thing and if Sasha Banks and Naomi didn't walk out, I would not be surprised if Asuka would have been released by now. Would not be surprised. They just don't value Asuka. I wouldn't be surprised if after Mandy Rose breaks Asuka's record, Asuka will be released. I do not put it past WWE at all. But this was done as nothing more than a way to help the Becky Lynch-Bianca Belair feud continue. going into the summer, into Money in the Bank, and then potentially into SummerSlam. And it looks like we're getting Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair once again. Yawn, yawn, and yawn. Pass me a fucking pillow. Becky Lynch, she is becoming Charlotte Flair down to a fucking T, and I cannot fucking stand it. Cannot stand it. It is absolutely ridiculous. But the match itself was excellent. Bianca Belair retains by pinning Asuka, as we all expected, and we are headed towards yet another Becky Lynch-Bianca Belair match, and 4 more weeks of a horrendous build towards Money in the Bank. Omos and MVP versus Bobby Lashley. MVP actually did a rap called Fall Mighty, and it was actually better than the actual match. That little rap that MVP did on Bobby Lashley was actually better than the actual match that we saw between MVP and Bobby Lashley and Omos on the pay-per-view. So Omos, he used his power against Lashley early on. Lashley tried to use his quickness. MVP then tagged in. MVP then came in with some ground and pound punches to Bobby Lashley. MVP and Omos then used the tag team rules to their advantage. Lashley went for a knee. He went for the knee of Omos. He hit a drop kick to the knee. Omos then with a stalling gourd buster on Bobby Lashley, a snake eyes, and then a corner avalanche. MVP then with a player's boot. MVP then with a player's boot, and Lashley was sent to the floor. Omos then hit a shoulder tackle, sending Lashley through the barricade. The ref counted 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9, and Lashley just beat the count. Lashley stayed alive, trying to create some drama, even though this feud has been the worst feud on Monday Night Raw ever since WrestleMania, and this was perhaps the worst match of the entire night. I find it so funny. Bobby Lashley versus Omos and MVP was on the show, but Gunther and Ricochet for the Intercontinental Championship was not on the show. Don't you think that would have made the show just a little bit more bearable? No. Great booking there, Bruce. You deserve a fucking pay raise. So the crowd trying to get behind Bobby Lashley. Lashley stayed alive. He beat the count. Lashley then hit a spear on MVP. Omos broke it up. All of a sudden, Cedric Alexander then came in. He distracted Omos. He was caught by Omos. Omos then tossed him out of the ring. Omos then caught a spear from Bobby Lashley. And then Bobby Lashley locked in the Hurt Lock on MVP, and MVP taps out. I would probably say this was much more bearable than expected. Probably the best match that Omos and Bobby Lashley have been in together. But at the end of the day, this was absolutely the worst match of the night. Should not have even been on the show. And this should have been replaced by Gunther and Ricochet for the Intercontinental Championship. Or it should have been replaced by Nakamura and Riddle versus the Usos for the tag team titles. Do not understand why we needed this match on the show. This program should have never even existed, and this program should have remained a thought. Matter of fact, whoever pitched this program to me, I would have fired on the spot. Easily would have fired on the spot. Now, Bobby Lashley, he took a replica WWE Championship from some fan in the crowd, and then he started posing with it and holding it up over his head and saying, this is what I want. I want the WWE Championship, blah, 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 blah. To me, what that means is it looks like we may have our match for SummerSlam. Now, according to Dave Meltzer, the report of Randy Orton and Roman Reigns being the SummerSlam match, he said that was scheduled to be, as well as Riddle at Money in the Bank, and then McIntyre was going to get Roman at Clash at the Castle. So Drew already challenged Roman at Clash at the Castle, and it seems as though Riddle and Roman is going to be the match for Money in the Bank in Las Vegas, as that is what they're building towards. That's all but confirmed. Those two matches are all but confirmed. So 2 out of 3 of those matches are set. The Randy Orton match, that one is the most is the match that is the most up in the air. And I say that because Randy Orton's back injury, it could very well be as serious as WWE is making it out to be. I don't expect Randy Orton to be back at all this summer. I don't. I don't expect Randy Orton to make it back to WWE until the fall, if he's lucky, depending on how bad this injury really is. But I do not expect him to make it back at all. I actually expect Randy Orton to be out potentially until the Royal Rumble, depending on how serious it is. So what this tells me, what Bobby Lashley did at the end of this match, what it tells me is that they have found a replacement for Randy Orton at SummerSlam. Because Bobby Lashley clearly is not winning the WWE Championship. They need to put someone against Roman that can take the loss, that doesn't need to win the championship, and will ultimately be nothing more than an enhancement for Roman until he gets to McIntyre. They are building McIntyre up as the guy to take down Roman. Is it a good idea? No. If I'm going to be quite honest, no. And the reason why is because McIntyre's already a made man. They should use it to build up a new star, but they don't really have anybody else. And they're not going to do Riddle for whatever fucking reason because they want to sell tickets with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns as the main event for Clash at the Castle. So at the end of the fucking day, it's going to be Drew McIntyre. I don't necessarily like it, but I think it's going to be a great moment for Drew. Drew McIntyre is the guy to take down Roman Reigns at Clash at the Castle. So they need someone to help Roman get through the second biggest show of the year, which is going to be SummerSlam, and it's going to be Bobby Lashley. Randy Orton's not going to make it back. So ultimately, we are looking at Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam after Lashley has now already finished with Omos and MVP, and we're looking at Bobby Lashley taking the spot from Randy Orton, and Bobby Lashley is ultimately going to be the fall boy for Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. That's pretty much it. That's what I got from it. Moving on, we had Kevin Owens. You had Kevin Owens versus Ezekiel. The feud has been corny. The feud's been cheesy. The feud has been just flat out unfunny. The feud has been very, very, very lackluster. And quite honestly, it's an embarrassment towards Kevin Owens. It really is. Kevin Owens is one of the best wrestlers that they have employed in that company right now. Any promotion would be salivating at the mouth, foaming at the mouth to get Kevin Owens as a member of their roster. And what does WWE think of him? He's nothing more than a main event fall boy, and he's nothing more than a cheap mid-card act. He failed to win the WWE Championship at day one, failed to win the Rumble. He wasn't even on the Elimination Chamber card. He lost to a 57-year-old Stone Cold at WrestleMania, despite the match being as fun as it was. Despite that, ultimately, we got Kevin Owens being buried. He was buried at WrestleMania. Again, Kevin Owens is nothing more than a glorified mid-carder to them. And now he's placed in this nonsensical storyline where he's trying to convince to everyone that Ezekiel is Elias. We all know that Ezekiel is Elias, so it's not like we're all stupid. But the feud, it's so cheesy and so bland. It's just so fucking bland. And Ezekiel, he's not any better in terms of character development either. He is so one-dimensional. I've been saying it every single time I talk about Ezekiel. Ezekiel has no character. He's one-dimensional. At least Elias had a fucking character. And they fucked that character up because they didn't go anywhere with it. Could have been a solid Intercontinental Champion, and they did nothing with it. They did nothing with it. Nothing at all. Elias had much more character than Ezekiel. Ezekiel clearly looks better than Elias, and he's a better wrestler than Elias. So I'll give Ezekiel that. And I've praised Ezekiel. He's gotten better in the ring. He looks physically fit. I want to look how Ezekiel looks. I want abs. I want these big biceps. He looks phenomenal. And he can wrestle too. He's a fairly decent wrestler. And this match wasn't that bad. This match wasn't bad. It was a semi-decent 10-minute match. It was a Monday Night Raw match on a pay-per-view, but this wasn't a bad match. It wasn't a bad match at all, but at the end of the day, no one gives a fuck. No one is going to care at the end of all of this. And no one's going to be talking about this match, whether they're at work today, they're at work tomorrow, whether they're talking about this Hell in a Cell pay-per-view a couple of weeks from now. This match and this show, outside of a couple matches, was ultimately forgettable. And this match in itself was probably one of the most forgettable matches on the show. It wasn't necessarily a terrible match, but at the end of the day, no one gives a shit. Because no one gave a shit about the program. Nobody gave a shit about Ezekiel. There's no attachment. There's no emotional investment in Ezekiel. And Kevin Owens, he's a guy that people love, and he's a guy that people want to see in a higher position on the card. So the least that they could have done, and they did do it, the least that they could have done was give Kevin Owens the victory here, and they did. And I said that Kevin Owens needs to be a babyface. I said that Owens needs to be a babyface, and he should be a babyface. He should honestly be a babyface. Kevin Owens as a heel, he surpassed his shelf life as a heel. I want to see what Kevin Owens can do as a babyface. He hasn't had enough time to showcase to us what he can really do as a top-tier level babyface. He hasn't. Kevin Owens has been in the middle of nothing for many, many years now. You signed Kevin Owens to a $3 million contract for him to job to Stone Cold, to lose to Brock Lesnar at day one, lose the Rumble, and then get thrown into a program where he's trying to convince everyone that Ezekiel is Elias, when we all know that he's Elias, but he's under a new name, a new character, or lack thereof character, and he looks different. So at the end of the fucking day, Kevin Owens has been perhaps the most shafted wrestler of the fucking year. Absolutely the most shafted wrestler of the fucking year. There is no fucking reason why Kevin Owens shouldn't be in the same position that Roman Reigns is in. There's no reason why Kevin Owens shouldn't have a title reign that's just as long, if not longer, than Roman Reigns. I don't understand why Kevin Owens has been relegated to nothing. And this is, again, the problem that WWE has. They put all their effort into one guy, and then they neglect everybody else. And Kevin Owens is a guy that they've neglected long before this. Long before AEW even came around. They've neglected Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens hasn't won a fucking championship in almost 5 years. He hasn't won a championship in almost 5 years. If that does not tell you that they are fucking up Kevin Owens, I don't know what does. I really don't know what does. Kevin Owens, he's a stand-up guy. He's a stand-up guy, and he decided to stick with WWE for his family, to make sure that his children have food on the table, to make sure that his children grow up, they're able to go to a great college and all that shit. But at the end of the day, WWE is not valuing Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens honestly deserves better than this. And I'll say the same thing for Ezekiel, too. What is Ezekiel other than Elias's younger brother? I ask it every single time I talk about him. Ezekiel needs some actual character development. Why don't we have any character development for Ezekiel? He's got a great look. He can wrestle just fine. Give him some fucking character. Why don't we have Ezekiel in a position where he could be a decent little mid-card act? Why isn't Ezekiel actually getting effort put into him? Because they don't care. They don't care. Because Ezekiel's not Roman Reigns. He's not Brock Lesnar. He's not Charlotte Flair. He's not Becky Lynch. He's not Goldberg. He's not Ronda Rousey. That's why. The match itself wasn't bad. So Ezekiel actually had a great flurry of offense out of the gate. He hit a stiff jumping knee strike to Kevin Owens, and then a very nice looking Macho Man elbow drop off the top. Owens kicked out. I actually thought that they were going to beat Owens right then and there. That would have been a shock. So Owens, he then whipped Ezekiel into the post, and Ezekiel took over. Owens took over, rather. Ezekiel was getting stomped down by Kevin Owens. Ezekiel was then caught with a senton and then a beautiful moonsault by Kevin Owens from the middle rope. Kevin Owens is very good in the ring. Beautiful moonsault from the middle rope. That got a 2. Ezekiel was actually busted open right above his left eye. right above his left eye, you see Ezekiel was actually busted open. So Owens, he kept the pressure on Ezekiel. Zeke tried to mount the comeback. The crowd was chanting Zeke. And then he whipped Owens into the turnbuckle. Owens sold the hell out of it. Zeke then mounted a comeback. Owens shut it down with a very nice-looking tornado DDT. That got a 2. Owens went for the Swanton bomb, but Ezekiel got his knees up. Zeke then came back with a mule kick, a couple of stinger splashes in the corner. Owens dodged the third stinger splash, and Ezekiel hit a very nice-looking spine buster for a 2. The crowd was chanting, he's Elias, so they were behind Ezekiel, and then they were behind Owens. So Owens hit a nice-looking pop-up powerbomb. That got a 2. Owens then started screaming, "You're Elias. Admit it. Admit it." Zeke slapped the hell out of Kevin Owens. He then rolled up Kevin Owens for a close 2 count. Zeke then with a high knee. Owens sold it beautifully. Zeke went up to the top again. He was going for another Macho Man elbow, but Owens shut him down. He hit 2 super kicks while Zeke was on the top rope after he got crotched on the top rope. Then Owens with a very nice looking cannonball. He then screamed Elias in Ezekiel's face. He hit the stunner in the middle of the ring and pinned Elias, or Ezekiel. He pinned Ezekiel while staring into the camera saying Elias. And Kevin Owens gets the win in a pretty decent little match. Went about 10 minutes. It was fine for what it was. But at the end of it, it was a meaningless match that no one's going to care about because A, no one cares about Ezekiel. B, no one cares about the storyline. And C, Kevin Owens deserves better. D, there were much better things on this show. There were things that were much better on this show than what we got here. So at the end of the day, no one cares about this feud or this match. Owens got the win. Good for him. Good for him. And I'd like to hope that this is the end of this program. Same thing with Bobby Lashley, Omos, and MVP. I hope that that's the end of that program, and this is the end of this program. Where do they go from here? Ezekiel, I'm now afraid that Ezekiel is going to be put in the same exact scenario as... He's going to be put in the same exact scenario as Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali was used as nothing more than an enhancement for Theory. I can absolutely see Ezekiel going into a feud with Austin Theory just to get Austin Theory through another pay-per-view as the United States champion. Theory, he retains the title against Ezekiel, and then I wouldn't be shocked if Ezekiel's on the next round of cuts. Wouldn't be shocked at all. Owens, I said it once, I'll say it again. Owens needs to be a babyface. Owens would work so much better as a babyface going up against people like Roman Reigns, people like Theory, people like Rollins. Put him on SmackDown. If you want to have him feud with Sami Zayn again, you could do that. Maybe Sami Zayn, he brings back the underdog from the underground persona. Maybe Sami brings back the underdog from the underground persona, and Kevin Owens turns babyface. Maybe we get a babyface tag team between those two. I would love to see a babyface tag team between those two, with those two going after the tag team titles and winning the tag team titles. That'd be great. I'd love to see that. But either way, Owens needs to be babyface. Owens needs to be babyface. His heel run, it's run its course. Owens should be babyface, and Owens should absolutely be involved in Money in the Bank. What does he do at SummerSlam? What does he do at SummerSlam? Well, I'll talk about that after we talk about the next match. And I'll explain to you why he needs to be babyface. The match itself, like I said, not a bad match, but again, no one's going to care about it. No one's going to be talking about it, and it will ultimately be forgotten once Monday Night Raw hits the USA Network at 8 p.m. tonight. The Judgment Day. The Judgment Day. They took on AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Liv Morgan. This was a 6-person tag team match. A lot of people have kind of soured on the program. They kind of haven't felt any luster, any energy, any passion from this program. The program's just kind of been there. It's been okay, but it hasn't been what many people expected it to be. And people have been wondering why that is. It's quite simple. The majority of people involved in this program have already been buried. The majority of people in this program have been treated like garbage. And it goes back to what I said with the Cody Rhodes scenario. WWE neglects everyone else while putting all of their effort into 4 or 5 people. WWE has made Liv Morgan and Finn Balor into glorified enhancement talents. AJ Styles got squashed by Omos 5 to 6 months ago, yet you want to take him seriously here in a program with Edge, WWE Hall of Famer, who's already a made man. Edge is the only one that has any legitimacy out of anyone here. Styles has been relegated to nothing, and he was made into a fall boy in that tag team with Omos. He was losing every fucking week, every single time in that tag team match. Styles always took the pin. He always took the pin. So at the end of the fucking day, why should we care about Styles? That tag team with Omos fucked him up. Then you got Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. Damian Priest, he was United States champion. He was doing fairly well with that United States championship. And then he starts becoming the Incredible Hulk. He starts becoming a different version of fucking Festus. He starts becoming Festus 2.0. He loses the title to Balor, and then he joins Edge. The second half of his U.S. title reign was not very good. He then joins up with Edge. And then we get Edge and Damian Priest forming Judgment Day. And then Rhea Ripley, she's been buried for the last 3 years. She's been in tag team after tag team, teaming up with Nikki Trash and Liv Morgan. And then we had Rhea Ripley in a scenario where she lost twice to Charlotte. She was fast-tracked to the Raw Women's Championship. And Rhea Ripley was just there. She was ordinary. She was just like everyone else. They destroyed Rhea Ripley. And that loss to Charlotte Flair fucked everything up back at WrestleMania 36 in an empty performance center. Fucked up Rhea Ripley right then and there. So at the end of all this, Edge is the only one with any legitimacy. And they're trying to boost some legitimacy with Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. And so far, they've been doing a fairly decent job. They've been doing a fairly decent job at giving the Judgment Day some legitimacy. But at the end of the day, they're feuding with 3 individuals who are already dead acts. They're feuding with 3 individuals. And I hate saying that about those 3 individuals because Styles is phenomenal. No pun intended. Balor is amazing at what he does. And Liv Morgan, she's busted her ass off to get better. And no one could give a single fuck about this program or this match just because of the simple fact that those 3 individuals, they're just dead acts. No one gives a shit, and they've been treated like trash for as long as I can remember, for as long as we can remember. And then on top of that, why are we going to care about the baby faces over here when Judgment Day has essentially been handing Balor, Styles, and Morgan their asses for the last 3 months? They've legitimately been handing them their asses. Every single time the Judgment Day faces off against these individuals, they win. Judgment Day has been winning and winning, and Styles, Balor, and Liv Morgan, they get absolutely nothing. They get absolutely no meal. Judgment Day's been eating all the meal, and then Styles, Balor, and Liv Morgan, they get table scraps. So why would anyone give a shit about this program overall? The match itself was very fun. The match itself was, I would say it was probably the 3rd best match on this show. Out of everything, it was the women's match, and then it was the main event, and then it was Judgment Day, Balor, Styles, and Liv Morgan. The match itself, very fun. Very fun. So we had a 3-on-3 face-off. They faced off. We had Styles then launching Liv Morgan. He launched Liv Morgan into a pop-up, into a Hurricane Rana on Rhea Ripley. That actually looked very nice. Morgan then ran into a headbutt by Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley then took over control. And then all of a sudden, we had Liv Morgan with a dropkick. Missile dropkick off of the middle rope by Miss Liv Morgan. AJ Styles then came in. Priest then came in. We had a nice drop kick and a Pele kick to Priest. We had a tag to Balor. Balor used his quickness against Damian Priest. Priest then tagged in Edge. Edge then wore down Finn Balor. Him and Priest kept the pressure on him. Balor fought back. Priest shut him down with a very nice spinning backbreaker for a 2. Balor came back with some chops. Priest with a rolling elbow. Balor with a Pele kick, and both men are down. Balor trying to get to his corner. He's crawling. He hit the tag to AJ Styles, and he lit up Edge with a sliding forearm, a back suplex facebuster on Priest, Ushi-Goroshi on Edge for a 2. Liv Morgan then took out Rhea Ripley. We had a sliding knee by AJ Styles on Damian Priest. Styles, he hit the phenomenal forearm. The phenomenal forearm finally connected on Edge. But Damian Priest pulled Styles out of the ring, out of the cover, and Damian Priest saved the match. Styles then came back to make the tag to Liv Morgan, and she lit up Rhea Ripley with a very nice enziguri and a crucifix bomb. Very nicely done by Liv Morgan. Crucifix bomb on Ripley. That got a 2. Ripley with a very nice snapdragon suplex, and then she had Liv Morgan in... I don't even know what it was. She had Liv Morgan in a cross-armed Styles Clash combination, and she reversed it. She went from the Styles Clash position into a cradle DDT position into a vertical suplex. Very nicely done by Rhea Ripley. Awesome spot right there. That got a 2. So, Liv Morgan hit a jumping DDT on Rhea Ripley. Balor then tagged him in. Him and Styles then took out Priest and Edge with double planchas. Liv with a suicide dive on Ripley. Balor then went up to the top. Ripley stood right in Balor's way. And actually, no, she didn't stand right in Balor's way. She shook the ropes, and Balor crashed to the floor. Priest hit South of Heaven on Finn Balor. AJ Styles came in with a phenomenal forearm on Priest. Edge then took out Styles, and it looked like he was busted open, and he was being attended to by medical staff. Styles was busted open very, very badly. Balor then with a sling blade, shotgun dropkick on Edge. Rhea Ripley then got in Balor's way. This time she did get in Balor's way, and she stood face to face while Balor was on the top rope. Liv Morgan then jumped on Rhea Ripley's back, and Liv Morgan took out Rhea Ripley. Balor went for the coup de grace, but he missed it. He missed the coup de grace, and then Edge hit the spear. 1, 2, 3, and the Judgment Day wins a very fun 6-person tag team match, as I expected, and Balor is the one to take the fall. I mean, I did not expect anything different right there, because Balor to them is nothing but a glorified enhancement talent. What happens now? What happens now? I don't know. I honestly don't know. To be quite honest with you, this should be the end of the feud. There's really nothing more for these 6 individuals to do, and the Judgment Day need to move on. The Judgment Day need to move on to something different. Styles, Balor, and Liv Morgan, I don't know what happens with them. Honestly, I could see Balor and Liv Morgan getting released. Honestly, I could. I really could. I don't want it to happen, but I could see it happening. Now, what happens if they don't? Liv Morgan, I would love to see Liv Morgan in a Raw Women's title match against Bianca Belair. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see what Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair could actually do when given the opportunity. Will we get that? Probably not, because they cannot have a championship match without Becky Lynch. And then, of course, you got their fucking golden girl, Alexa Bliss, who I can't fucking stand. I wish she would get fucking released. We got Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch breathing down Bianca Belair's neck. So we're probably never going to get a Liv Morgan versus Bianca Belair match. I don't know what happens with Liv Morgan, if I'm going to be quite honest. As far as Balor goes, I don't know. We could see Balor and Styles in Money in the Bank. Maybe we see Balor and Styles as a tag team. Maybe they go after the tag team titles. Lord knows that they have history, so WWE will probably pair them together. They won't mention their history at all in the Bullet Club, but they're going to pair them together anyway, and we could see those two go after the tag team championships, because right now there's no fucking tag teams. Nothing but makeshift fucking tag teams. And if so, that's two men right there that are automatically going to be canceled out of the main event championship title scene. If you're asking me, I would love to see AJ Styles in there with Seth Rollins. If you're asking me, I would absolutely put AJ Styles in there at SummerSlam against Seth Rollins. That right there is a SummerSlam match if I have ever seen one. That's a SummerSlam match right there if I have ever seen one on paper, if I've seen one in general. And the last match that they had all the way back at Money in the Bank in 2019, that match went 20 minutes. If that is any indication on what we could potentially get if those guys are given yet another pay-per-view platform, that's definitely a match that I would want to see. So I would absolutely do Styles and Rollins at SummerSlam this year in Nashville. What do you do with Balor? I don't know. What do you do with Balor? I don't know. If I was them, I would honestly move Balor over to SmackDown. You already have people from Raw appearing on SmackDown and SmackDown appearing on Raw. Put Balor on SmackDown. Put him on SmackDown and give me Balor versus Ricochet for the Intercontinental Championship. Or considering Gunther, I expect Gunther to win the Intercontinental Championship next week. Fully expect him to win the title next week. Or this week, rather. I expect him to win the title this Friday. Give me Gunther versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship. Let's see what those two can do. Give me that match. As far as the Judgment Day goes, I don't really know where they go from here, but if I was booking the Judgment Day, I would actually go outside the box here. I would go outside the box with Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. Edge wants to bring them to prominence, right? Edge wants to bring them to the promised land. He wants to make sure that they are the best that they could possibly be, right? They want to be at the top of their game, right? You know what I would do? I would, honest to God, give Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley the men's and the women's Money in the Bank briefcases. I would give those two the briefcases. And with Edge as their beacon of light, as their guiding light, he could say, I guided these two to briefcases and contracts that will change their life. I would absolutely give Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley the Money in the Bank briefcases. Will they do that? Probably not. Why won't they do that? Because, you see, that would be the innovative thing to do. That would be the cool thing to do. That would be a moment in which two new stars would be created. But, of course, WWE, they're not in the business of creating new stars. Let's be real right here. So at the end of the fucking day, what are they going to do? I don't fucking know. But I would absolutely give Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley the respective Money in the Bank ladder match wins. Rhea Ripley as the women's Money in the Bank ladder match holder, Damian Priest as the men's Money in the Bank ladder match holder. And I would make things a little interesting. If you really want to make things interesting, I'll tell you how you make things interesting. I would love to see, as far as Rhea Ripley goes, I would love to see Rhea Ripley hold that championship or hold that briefcase for the rest of the year. And I would actually like to have Bianca have a solid championship title reign. And then when you least expect it, towards the end of the year, Bianca Belair is cashed in on by Rhea Ripley. And I would love to see Rhea Ripley take that championship from Bianca towards the end of the year and take that title into WrestleMania. If you want to make Rhea Ripley into a major star, what you could do is you could have Bayley win the Royal Rumble next year, and we could be looking at Bayley and Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 39 for the Raw Women's Championship going into 2023. Now, that would be a great program that would definitely bring Rhea Ripley to prominence. I would absolutely give Rhea Ripley the women's Money in the Bank briefcase and have her take that title off Bianca Belair when the time is right. Absolutely. What do you do with Priest? Priest, I would pull something very, very interesting. And I would actually take the risk by giving Damian Priest the briefcase. I would do Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, Clash at the Castle. And I would have Damian Priest cash in his briefcase a la Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 31. And I would have him insert himself into the championship match between Roman and Drew, make it a triple threat, and have Damian Priest get the championship. And that right there, you have yourself a made man in Damian Priest. That is how you make two new stars right there. And with Edge as their beacon of light, that right there would absolutely enhance them and help their careers out immensely. That's how you build new stars with Judgment Day. Now, what do you do with Edge going into SummerSlam? Obviously, he's not going to miss SummerSlam. It's the second biggest pay-per-view of the year. I'm going to shout out JD from New York, actually, because I watched this Hell in a Cell review. Shout out to him. He actually pitched John Cena to come back and face off against Edge at SummerSlam. I would not mind that. I actually think that that's a great idea. Now, I don't know if they're going to do that or not. I haven't heard any news of John Cena coming back for SummerSlam to fight Edge. If anything, what I would do is I would actually turn Kevin Owens babyface. If John Cena can't come back, I would turn Kevin Owens into a babyface, and I would have Kevin Owens go into SummerSlam to fight Edge. Heel Edge versus babyface Kevin Owens, and I would give Kevin Owens the victory right there. Kevin Owens needs to be in a higher position on the card. Kevin Owens needs to be in a position where he is fighting the best of the best, winning big matches, and he's not essentially the new CM Punk, where he's going to lay down for all these part-timers. He laid down for Brock. He laid down for Stone Cold. He should not. He laid down for Goldberg in the past. He's laid down for Shane. He should not lay down for Edge. Give me a babyface Kevin Owens and give me Owens versus Edge at SummerSlam if John Cena is not able to come back. That is the best way to go about it. I want to see Owens in a higher position on the card, and I want to see Owens in a much more prominent position. Give me Kevin Owens, babyface Kevin Owens versus Edge. That is how you do it. And then you put the two Money in the Bank briefcases on Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. Take a fucking risk. Do something outside of the box. Please. Please. As far as the match goes, very fun match. Very fun match. Right winners. And that's pretty much it. There's no reason for this feud to continue, especially after Judgment Day has been handing Styles, Balor, and Morgan their asses for months now. Madcap Moss. He took on Happy Corbin. This was a no-holds-barred match. A lot of people are comparing Madcap Moss's attire to that of Bill Goldberg. I see it, but let me tell you something. It's a hell of a lot better than yellow fucking suspenders. That's for sure. It's a hell of a lot better than him wrestling in suspenders, dress shorts, and dress shoes. So if you ask me, I got no issue with Madcap Moss's new attire. So this was much better than their match at WrestleMania Backlash, but again, really nothing you're going to go back and rewatch. This was mainly a bookend to this feud where Madcap Moss is in a scenario where he needs to beat Happy Corbin so that way he can move on. So Madcap caught Corbin with some stiff strikes. The fight spilled into the stage area. Corbin was then sent into the barricade by Madcap Moss. Madcap Moss then got a steel chair. Corbin stopped him in his tracks. Corbin then sent Moss over the announce table. Moss then threw Corey Graves' chair at Corbin, very similar to what Braun Strowman used to do. Very similar to what Braun Strowman used to do back in the day to Roman Reigns, if you remember that. So he then sent Corbin into the steps. Corbin tried to escape through the crowd. Corbin then clotheslined Moss over the barricade. Corbin then pulled out a table. And then he put it back because the Chicago crowd, they wanted tables. Chicago crowd wanted tables, and Corbin didn't give him tables. So he's playing up to the crowd. By the way, Earl Cole, shout out to Earl. He did his Hell in a Cell wrap-up show. So if you want to go check that out, please go check him out because he's an awesome dude. But Corbin did not give Chicago the tables that they wanted. Corbin then, with a choke slam to Moss, he brought in a steel chair and then he hit Moss with the steel chair. He then delivered a chair shot right to the neck of Madcap Moss. So obviously targeting the neck. Corbin then got another chair after he hit a deep six on Madcap Moss. He hit a deep six on Madcap Moss. That got a 2. Corbin then got another chair. The crowd chanted asshole. Crowd chanted asshole at Corbin. Corbin then was sent headfirst into the chair, propped up in the corner. Moss then hit Corbin with the chair, some stiff strikes, DDT on the chair by Madcap Moss for a 2. Madcap Moss hit a couple of shoulder tackles in the corner, and then he hit one over the top rope. Madcap Moss was then caught with a chop block by Happy Corbin. Moss was then sent over the barricade, and then he wrapped the chair around Moss's neck, did Corbin, and then sent him right into the announce table, so obviously playing up to the neck injury. Corbin then brought in the bottom half of the steel steps. He then propped them up in the corner. Moss then, with a fall-away slam into the steps. Fall-away slam into the steps, and then Madcap Moss connected with the punchline. He then wrapped Corbin's head in a steel chair, and then he stomped the steps onto the chair, into Corbin's neck, and pinned him 1, 2, 3 for the win. Like I said, much better than their matchup at WrestleMania Backlash. Much better. It was physical. Madcap Moss looked good, and Madcap Moss got the win. For the most part, every single outcome on the show was the right outcome. It was the outcomes that we all expected, and this was absolutely the right outcome. No reason for Happy Corbin to win. Happy Corbin's a fucking bum. Corbin is a dead act, and I don't even think that the Lone Wolf will be able to save him. Nothing will be able to help Happy Corbin. Nothing. So at the end of the day, Madcap Moss, he needed the win. He got the win. And if you ask me, I would continue this momentum. I would continue this momentum for Madcap Moss. And if you really want to get behind Madcap Moss, you could. Build up Madcap Moss. He could use a little bit more time growing and maturing. And then, once you have an actual fucking character for him that's serious enough for the people to get behind, give me Madcap Moss versus Austin Theory for the United States Championship. Or maybe call up someone from NXT. Call up a Braun Breaker. Call up a Carmelo Hayes. Call up a Grayson Waller. Call up a Cameron Grimes, a Santos Escobar. Let's see what other competition we can get. We need something of substance for Madcap Moss, but I don't even think there is anyone else for him to be feuding with other than Happy Corbin. There's no other person for him to be feuding with other than Happy Corbin, unless we get Madcap Moss versus a Sami Zayn. We could get that. I don't know how likely that is, but if given the opportunity, I think they could put on a pretty damn good match. He's got a great look, does Madcap Moss. He looks physically intimidating. He can wrestle. He can cut a promo just fine. And if they play their cards right, they could have a pretty decent little act in Madcap Moss. I want to see new talent succeed. And let me tell you something. They desperately, and I mean desperately, need new, fresh faces with actual substance on the show. They need something after all of these fucking injuries and after everything that's been happening, all the people they fired, all the people they've neglected. Roman's on vacation fucking his wife in the Bahamas, and Cody Rhodes is out with a torn pectoral muscle. They need someone. They need someone. Is it Madcap Moss? I don't know. But he could be a solid hand in the mid-card division if you want him to be. All you need to do is put effort into him. I'm not saying put all the effort into him like you do with Roman, because he's not a main event guy yet, but you can put a little bit of effort into him. The same effort that you do Cody, you could put the Cody Rhodes effort into him. Present him like a big fucking deal. Give him a serious character. Give him opportunities where he can showcase how good of a pro wrestler he really is. It's not that hard. What happens with Corbin? I don't fucking know. And to be quite honest with you, I don't care. Not even the Lone Wolf can save Baron Corbin. Not even the Lone Wolf can save Baron Corbin. Sad, but true. Sad, but true. We'll see what happens. And normally I would say Corbin's on the verge of getting released, but they love Baron Corbin. They haven't shown any signs of releasing Baron Corbin. So I guess we're stuck with him. The kinetic theory, the behaviorist theory, the social theory, the Big Bang theory. What kind of theory, you ask? Why, but Austin theory. But he's just called theory. Fucking stupid. Austin theory. He took on Mustafa Ali. This was for the United States Championship. This was a very good match. Went about 10 minutes. It was a good match for what it was, but at the end of the day, who cares? Who cares at the end of the day? This was a match in which it was nothing more than an enhancement match for Austin Theory. And the crowd in Chicago, they didn't really care too much for Ali. And the reason why is because of the fact that they already knew the outcome. They already knew the outcome. They knew Ali wasn't winning the championship. They saw how terribly Ali was treated over the course of the last X amount of weeks on Monday Night Raw. We saw the embarrassment that Mustafa Ali was subjected to, losing to Veer Mahan, Miz as the special guest referee, being mistreated week in and week out, losing to the Miz and Austin Theory in a fucking handicap match. No one expected Ali to win the championship. No one did. So at the end of the day, this was nothing more than a decent 10-minute match that ultimately people are going to forget about and people aren't going to care about because Mustafa Ali's a bum. Mustafa Ali is a bum. Mustafa Ali is essentially an act that is merely there to help others get over. And I would not be shocked in the slightest, if Mustafa Ali is cut. I actually expect Ali to be cut any fucking day now. Where does he go from here? Does he join Judgment Day? There's a new member coming. Does he join Judgment Day? Do we see Ali join Judgment Day? I don't know. To be quite honest, I don't care. Where the fuck is Ciampa? Ciampa's been rendered to fucking nothing. Barely even been on TV. I want to see new fresh stars, new fresh blood. And normally I'd say, yeah, Austin Theory is new, he's fresh, but Ali, he was used in a scenario in which Austin Theory falls in that category, that the category of Roman Reigns, the category of Lesnar and Rhodes. They're putting all their effort into Theory while neglecting someone like Ali. That's not building new stars. That is putting all your effort into one guy and neglecting everyone else. You are essentially going to make Austin Theory the only legit guy on the roster if you continue on the path that you're continuing on right now. It was a very good match for what it was. Simple, decent 10-minute match, but at the end of the fucking day, does anyone care? No. No one cares. Nobody cares because at the end of the day, Ali, he's a dead act. And Theory, it's not like people care about Theory enough anyway, because you've been treating Theory like nothing more than a selfie nerd. You've been treating him like a selfie nerd. Yes, he's great. Yes, he's put on some great matches. And so far his U.S. title reign isn't terrible. But at the end of the day, that title's already been, it's been cut down to size so much. That title hasn't felt important since when Damian Priest originally won it. When Damian Priest originally won that title, he was defending that title in some bangers against Sheamus, McIntyre, Hardy. He had a semi-decent match with T-Bar, a no DQ match with T-Bar. He was putting on some great fucking matches with Damian Priest. Really, he was. And then after that, no, dead. Balor, he didn't do shit with the United States Championship. He lost it in his first title defense and held it for all but 2 months. Balor's a dead act in his own right. Theory has not had enough of an opportunity to showcase to us what he can really do. And this was a semi-decent start with Ali, but I doubt that they're going to follow up on it. Ali, again, I am waiting for Ali to get cut any day now. Ezekiel is in the same exact category as Ali. I expect Ezekiel to go up against Theory next, and Ezekiel is inevitably going to lose to Theory, and both Ezekiel and Ali are going to be on the next round of budget cuts. I don't want it to happen. I think they both deserve better because Ezekiel's worked his ass off to get better in the ring over the years. And Ali, I've been an advocate for Ali since that match with Drew Gulak in July, 5 years ago. That 2 out of 3 falls match with Drew Gulak and Mustafa Ali was a phenomenal fucking 2 out of 3 falls match. Went 20 minutes. That was a great match. Outside of that, there's really nothing more to say. Decent match for what it was, but ultimately, no one cares just because of Ali and the way that he's been booked. No one expected Ali to win. So we had a very technical start. Ali with some arm drags early on. Crowd was firmly behind Ali. Ali then came in with a huge crossbody to the floor. Theory then sent Ali shoulder first into the post. And he took out his aggression on Ali. Ali was then sent to the floor. Back in the ring. Theory with a fall-away slam for a 2. Ali came back with a heel kick. He mounted a comeback. He hit an enziguri and a rolling neck breaker. Both men were on the top. We had a moonsault by Ali, but Ali landed on his feet. We had a super kick to the gut by Ali to Theory. Ali went up to the top. He was looking for a 450. Theory then with a slingshot Spanish fly for a 2, and then he hit some ground and pound punches. We had some back and forth roll-ups. Ali, then with a lariat, both men are down. We had a tornado DDT out of the corner by Ali. Ali went up to the top again. Theory cut him down. Ali then reversed the A-Town down, and then he locked in a modified STF, and it was in deep. Theory ended up getting to the ropes. Then all of a sudden, he was caught in the ropes. Ali with a very nice looking satellite DDT in the ropes, up and around into a satellite DDT, spiking Theory right on the crown of his head. He then went up to the top. He went for the 450 splash, but he missed. Theory then hit a chop block on Ali, and then Theory got Ali up, A-Town down, and he retains the United States Championship in a fairly decent match. Not bad at all, but no one cares. I didn't care. The outcome was as predictable as you can get because Ali has been treated like shit. Maybe if you actually booked Ali like an actual fucking superstar, maybe we'd care a little bit more. Maybe if you didn't embarrass him, we'd actually care. Ali failed to win the U.S. title, and ultimately, Ali is a bum. Ali is going to get released sooner rather than later. And Theory, I don't know what they do with Theory, but outside of Ezekiel, they really don't have any challengers for Austin Theory. Maybe Ricochet loses the Intercontinental Championship to Gunther at SmackDown this Friday, and maybe we see Ricochet in a scenario where Ricochet faces off against Austin Theory for the U.S. title at SummerSlam. That's your SummerSlam match. That's your SummerSlam match, and maybe right then and there, we see Theory get some real competition, and we could see a rather fast-paced, exciting U.S. title match that could make the title mean something. I don't know, but there's really not enough challengers for Austin Theory. You got Ali, he beat. Ezekiel, he's probably going to beat. And then who else is there after that? There's really nobody. Unless you bring over some people from SmackDown. But who else is there? Everyone else is a fucking heel. There's no mid-card baby faces outside of Ezekiel. Everyone else is a heel. So what are you going to do? I don't know. But Theory, no way he was losing the title. Theory retains the title here at Hell in a Cell. The main event. The main event. I did not know what to expect here. Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, this was the only Hell in a Cell match on the show, which was absolutely the right way to go about it. Absolutely the right way to go about it, because there was no other feud that called for it. Maybe the Judgment Day versus Styles, Balor, and Liv, maybe that match called for it, but WWE is not going to put those 6 individuals inside Hell in a Cell because they do not take risks. They do not like to get innovative, and they do not like to have fun. Oh, shit. Oh, careful of that. Careful of that right there. So, as I spilled my water a little bit, what are you going to do? It's a live stream. So we had Rollins. He comes out doing his normal shtick. And he's wearing Dusty Rhodes style polka dots. He wears Dusty Rhodes style polka dots. And I'm thinking to myself, this is fucking amazing. Rollins looks like a complete fucking dick. He's wearing Dusty Rhodes polka dots. He's doing his thing. Oh, whoa. Rollins is great. Rollins is phenomenal. He's absolutely phenomenal. So from there, we wait the arrival of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes came out. He wasn't moving his right arm. He just put up one arm. He usually puts both arms out when he does his entrance. He only put up one. Now, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect here. I didn't know if it was a work or if it was legit. Now, I didn't think that it was going to be a work because I didn't think WWE and Cody would go to the extent to working something this severe. But he clearly wasn't moving his right arm. And when he took his coat off, I don't think I've ever seen something this gruesome while watching professional wrestling. It looked fucking nasty as I've ever seen. The entire right pectoral muscle and all the way down his bicep, down to his elbow, was all bruised. I was wincing. I almost didn't want to look at it. Like, I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. It was absolutely nasty. Rollins was laughing at it. And Rollins played his role perfectly here. Laughing at the bruise. Cody, he was trying to use his quickness against Rollins. He hit a disaster kick and a Cody cutter, but obviously the pectoral muscle came into effect. He locked in a figure 4. Rollins pulled out a kendo stick and he hit Cody right in the injured pec. He then, this was absolutely fucking gruesome. He took the kendo stick and drove it. Can you just picture this? Picture Cody on the floor, Rollins standing over him. He takes the edge of the kendo stick and he drives it into the injured pec, into the bruise. It looked fucking nasty. I was legitimately recoiling in my seat. It looked nasty. So he then drove Cody into the cell, not once, but twice. Cody obviously moving slow. Rollins then hit Cody in the injured pec with steel steps. I don't know why the fuck that they chose to do that, but Rollins obviously, he was told and given his marching orders. Cody obviously was going to take this like a champ, and he did it. Steel steps right to the injured pec. Rollins, he then put on Cody Rhodes' jacket. He put on Cody's jacket, and he then looks underneath the ring. He's looking for some shit underneath the ring, and he pulls out a polka dot weight belt. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, this guy is just so fucking good. Rollins is so good at what he does. He is unbelievably good. I absolutely love what Seth Rollins is doing. He is amazing. So Rollins pulls out a fucking polka dot weight belt. He whipped Cody with the belt in the back, and then he whipped him right across the fucking injured pec. And I'm like, holy shit. Holy shit. You could not pay me all the money in the world to do this shit. I would be rolling on the floor in pain on the verge of fucking tears. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. Cody Rhodes is a fucking warrior if I've ever seen one. So he whipped Cody right across the bruise. Rollins then brought out a table. The crowd chanted, "Thank you, Rollins," because all they wanted all night was a table. They didn't get it in the no-holds-barred match, so they got it here in the Hell in a Cell match, and the crowd chanted, "Thank you, Rollins." So Rollins, he was going for a superplex to Cody through the table. So Rollins was then caught in a powerbomb position by Cody, but Cody obviously couldn't hold him up because of the injured pec. Rollins then with a rolling elbow, and then he put Cody on the table. He went for the frog splash, and Cody Rhodes moved. Rollins went right through the table and absolutely just splattered. Right through the table. He landed right on the floor, and the table absolutely fucking shattered. It looked nasty. Great table break. Great table break. So, after that, Cody tried to mount the comeback. He then took the weight belt, and he looked at the weight belt, and he's like, fuck this. He then went under the ring. He brought out a bag, and he pulled out a fucking bull rope. I was having flashbacks to the bunkhouse match between the Butcher, the Blade, Dustin Rhodes, and QT Marshall back during the pandemic era for Dynamite. He pulled out a bull rope, wrapped it around his arm, threw it to Rollins. He's like, put it on, damn it, put it on. He wrapped it around his wrist, did Rollins. He yanked the bull rope, did Cody Rhodes. Cody yanked the bull rope right under Rollins' crotch. Right under Rollins' crotch. He then hit a super kick, and he hit Rollins with the cowbell. That got it too. Rollins then used the bull rope to rebound Cody off of the steel post. Rollins then brought in another table, and he propped it up in the corner. Rollins went for Cody. Cody caught him with a crossroads, and Rollins kicked out. Rollins, he then scratched the pec. He yanked at the pec. He went, boom, yanked at the arm, yanked at the pec. He hit a super kick to the face of Cody. He picked Cody up. He buckle bombed Cody right through the table. The table fucking shattered, and the way that Cody Rhodes took it, he just recoiled. He was twitching, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. I would not want to be in his position. I don't even know how he's pulling this off. He then kicked out. He kicked out by getting the injured pec off the floor. Guy's a fucking maniac. He's an absolute fucking maniac, is Cody Rhodes. Rollins, he then brought out a sledgehammer. Rollins brought out the sledgehammer. Cody Rhodes came back and hit Rollins with a pedigree. Cody Rhodes only got a 2 count. Cody then grabbed the sledgehammer. Rollins ran away. Rollins slid into the ring, and as Cody was sliding into the ring, Rollins hit a stomp right on the money. Stomp right on the money, and he tried to crawl to the cover. He was crawling to the cover. He crawled to the cover. 1, 2, Cody kicked out. Don't know how, but he fucking kicked out. So Cody kicked out. He's a fucking maniac, is Cody Rhodes. Chicago crowd is chanting, "This is awesome. This is awesome." Cody was then caught with a crossroads of his own. Rollins did a crossroads on Cody. Cody no-sold it. He delivered crossroads to Seth Rollins, and then both men were down. Both men were down. The Chicago crowd obviously appreciating everything that these two men were doing. Both men were down. Cody Rhodes and Rollins, and they were crawling. They were scratching. They were crawling for the sledgehammer. Rhodes got the sledgehammer, but he couldn't pick it up because of the injured pec. Rollins got the sledgehammer. Rhodes kicked the sledgehammer out of Rollins' hand. Cody Rhodes with a crossroads. rolled through a second crossroads, very impactful. He then dropped Rollins, turned around, he grabbed the sledgehammer, ran towards Rollins with a sledgehammer right to the fucking face, right across the head. He rolls Rollins over, 1, 2, 3. And Cody Rhodes delivers an excellent Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins and delivers the best performance of his entire fucking career. And that is how Hell in a Cell went off the air. I said it once, I'll say it again. If I am booking this, I am absolutely, I am going with Cody Rhodes to win the Rumble next year and win the world title at WrestleMania 39. That's what I'm doing. That is how I am laying this out. Rollins, props to Rollins. He always seems to deliver the best feuds of the year. He's delivered a great feud with Owens in 2020, a great feud with Rey Mysterio. He's delivered great matches with Edge in 2021 and Cesaro. He's delivered some great matches here with Cody Rhodes. Rollins in the last several years has been doing the best work of his entire career. And I think Seth Rollins, ever since he turned heel back in 2019, he is really to be appreciated. He is really to be appreciated, and he is not to be taken lightly. I think a lot more people should start appreciating what Seth Rollins is really capable of. Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, easily the best program of the entire year for WWE thus far. Both men deserve a shit ton of praise, especially Cody for pulling that out with a torn fucking tricep, or a torn pectoral muscle. I don't know why I keep on saying tricep. A torn pectoral muscle. That was absolutely fucking brutal. And that right there deserves a shit ton of praise. Phenomenal stuff from both men. And that was Hell in a Cell. That was Hell in a Cell. Really nothing but a thumbs in the middle show. We had a great match to start the show, a great match to end the show, a fun 6-person tag, a couple decent matches here and there, but ultimately it was a very skippable show. If I was to tell you what to go back and rewatch, watch the main event, watch the 6-person tag, and watch the opening match. Those 3 were the 3 best matches on the show, and that was pretty much it. And that was Hell in a Cell, and I don't really expect anything else from Monday Night Raw tonight. I don't really expect anything crazy from Monday Night Raw tonight. Matter of fact, I expect a terrible episode of Monday Night Raw. With Cody out, with Roman out, this is not looking good. Not looking good at all. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gents, that wraps up this edition of The Rewind. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. Do not forget to like, to comment, subscribe. Check out all the links in the description. I greatly appreciate all of you. Thank you to DJ Sums, Hologram, Earl Cole, Alex Mercado, Dee Dee, Danielle. Thank you to everyone. Peanuts, you guys have been awesome. I greatly appreciate every single one of you. And thank you all for making the Summer of Storms kickoff tour something special. Again, I will be live tweeting tonight for Raw, but I will not be live tweeting, and I will not be note-taking, actually. I will not be note-taking for the shows at all this week, because next week, I will be taking a week off, and next week I will be returning June 18th, and I will be back in time for Forbidden Door, but I greatly appreciate every single one of you for making the Summer of Storms kickoff tour something special. It has been a crazy 2 weeks. Now I can finally relax. I'm going to focus on work. I'm going to focus on stuff at home, and I will be back on June 18th. You guys have been awesome. I'm DJ Storms. This has been The Rewind, and I hope you guys have an awesome day. Enjoy your week. Be well. Enjoy the summer. Stay cool. And remember, who runs the IWC? I mean, there ain't nobody better. There ain't nobody better. Who but DJ motherfucking Storms? Without me, there is no IWC. I said that as an unintentional rhyme. Eminem, eat your heart out. I hope you guys have an awesome day.